Rain beat against the tall glass windows of Liam Carter's penthouse, blurring the city lights below. The world was asleep, everyone except him. Liam lay on his couch, staring at the ceiling, the faint hum of machines around him, the only sound in the room. He couldn't sleep, even though he had everything a man could ever want: a billion-dollar company, a private jet, and a mansion in every country he visited. Then his phone buzzed. The screen's glow cut through the dark 24 a.m., unknown number. He almost ignored it, but something deep inside, a strange pull, made him swipe the screen. "Hello?" he said quietly. A shaky breath answered. Then a woman's voice, soft, trembling, almost broken. "Liam, please, don't go." The line went silent. Liam sat up. Who is this? No answer. He could hear faint wind, maybe from outside. Then the caller whispered one more thing, something that froze him completely. "They're watching me." The call ended. The room felt suddenly darker. Liam stared at his reflection in the glass wall, heart pounding louder than the rain. He didn't know the voice. But there was something in her tone, fear so real, it crawled into his chest. He grabbed his coat, keys, and phone. By the time he stepped into the elevator, the city below glowed like a cold, dying ember. The billionaire who always said he worked only with logic now followed something rare for him: instinct. As his car engine roared to life downstairs, lightning flashed across the sky, throwing silver light over a shadow watching from across the street. The figure moved only when Liam's car disappeared into the fog. He didn't see it, but by the time he would, it would already be too late. The city was still half asleep as Liam drove through the storm. His black Aston Martin cut through the rain like a dark arrow, tires splashing against wet streets. The only sound inside was the soft ping of raindrops against the windshield and the echo of her voice in his head. "Don't go." The words repeated again and again, strange and desperate. Who was she? How did she have his number? And what did she mean by "they're watching me"? The GPS showed no destination because he didn't know where to go. The number that had called him only rang once before going dead. He tried again now. No answer. Then his phone buzzed with a message. "Unknown sender. If you want to help me, come to the old house on Willow Hill." He froze. That place. Liam hadn't been there in over 10 years. It used to belong to the Carter family, his childhood home before his parents' deaths. It had been empty ever since, locked behind rusted gates and dark memories. His hands gripped the steering wheel tighter. Maybe it was a prank. Maybe someone wanted to trap him. But something in his chest told him it wasn't random. Whoever she was, she knew too much. Rain fell harder as he made the climb to Willow Hill. The road twisted through the forest like a black snake, and the headlights barely cut through the fog. The air grew colder the higher he drove. When he finally reached the iron gates, they stood open. Liam stepped out. His shoes sank into wet mud. The house loomed above, old, silent, its windows fogged up like blind eyes staring into the dark. A single light flickered inside on the second floor. "Hello?" he called. His voice broke against the rain. No answer. He took one careful step inside. The smell of old wood and dust hit him. Every sound, the dripping water, the creaking floorboards, felt alive. Then, from upstairs, came the faint sound of footsteps. Slow, uneven. "Who's there?" he shouted. No one replied, but the light upstairs flickered twice, almost like a signal. He climbed the staircase, one hand running along the old banister for balance. The boards groaned under his weight. At the top, the door to his parents' old bedroom was half open. Warm light spilled through. He pushed the door. It creaked wide. A woman stood in the center of the room, wearing a thin white blouse soaked from the rain, her hair clinging to her face. She looked terrified and familiar. "Lena?" he whispered, almost not believing it. Lena Harper, the woman he buried in memory years ago, the one who vanished after his father's funeral, the one he thought had died in a car crash. She looked up, eyes trembling. "Liam, they know you came." Lightning flashed, bright and blinding behind the windows. When it faded, she was gone. The room stood empty. And on the desk by the window, someone had written in the dust with their finger, "Don't go." Liam's phone buzzed. Another message from the unknown number. This time it said, "They're already in the house." Liam's heart slammed against his ribs as he read the message again. "They're already in the house." The room felt colder. He looked around, nothing but old furniture, a broken mirror, and dust thick enough to hide footprints. He slowly backed toward the hallway, his hand still gripping the phone. Somewhere below, a floorboard creaked. "Is someone here?" he called out, but his voice came shaky, unlike the confident billionaire who commanded boardrooms. The sound of footsteps answered him, not one pair, but several, slow and deliberate. He turned off his phone's flashlight and crouched near the wall, letting his eyes adjust to the dim. For a few seconds, silence returned. Then, from the living room below, a faint whisper, "Liam, leave." The same trembling voice, Lena's. He sprinted down the stairs, but when he reached the bottom, the room was empty. Only the rain outside filled the silence. Then, as lightning struck, he saw on the far wall something new, fresh, muddy handprints, small and thin like Lena's. They led toward the basement door. Liam swallowed hard. The air smelled damp and metallic, like rain and rust. He hesitated only a second before pulling the door open. The darkness below breathed back at him. He found an old torch on the wall, flicked it on, and went down. The steps groaned with every movement. When he reached the bottom, the beam lit a dusty basement filled with discarded furniture, covered paintings, and old crates stamped with the Carter family logo. Then he saw something scratched into the concrete wall. Faint but clear. "They took me because of your father." Liam froze. The torch flickered. Before he could think, a shadow darted past the beam's edge fast, almost human but lower to the ground. He spun around, but it was gone. A faint whisper echoed from deep in the basement. "Don't go." It came from behind one of the old bookcases. He pushed it aside, revealing a hidden steel door, half buried in dust and cobwebs. Attached was a digital lock, blinking red. Not part of the original house design. "What is this?" he muttered. His phone buzzed again, a new message. "Do not open it. They can hear everything." His pulse raced. "Who are they?" A soft metallic clicking answered him from the other side of the steel door. The lock began blinking faster, shifting from red to green. Something, or someone, was unlocking it. Liam stumbled back, his breath shaky. The door shuddered, and a faint hiss of air escaped the edges. Then, with a slow, painful creak, it began to open. Behind it was not another room, but a tunnel, dark, wet, stretching into blackness. He thought he heard movement inside, faint scraping sounds, like bare feet dragging across concrete. Then something stepped forward. Liam raised the torch, but before the light reached its face, the power died. The torch went out. Total darkness. And out of that dark came Lena's voice again right beside his ear this time. "Liam, they're coming for you now." The sound of rain again. Soft, distant, real. Liam opened his eyes to a gray sky. The ground beneath him was wet grass, not metal, not concrete. Birds called faintly in the distance. He turned his head and saw Lena lying beside him. Her hair tangled, her clothes torn, breathing shallow but steady. For a moment, he thought he was dead, but the pain in his ribs, the chill in his lungs, it all felt too real to be anything else. He sat up slowly. They were in a field, surrounded by fog, the mountains gone, the road leading nowhere. In the distance, something shimmered, faintly broken steel fragments poking from the earth like the bones of some sleeping machine. Lena stirred. "Liam?" He moved closer. "I'm here." She blinked at the sky above them, whispering, "It's quiet." He nodded, unsure what else to say. There was a peace in the silence, like the storm that had haunted them. Both had finally fallen still. But even as he looked around, something felt wrong. The air itself hummed faintly, as if invisible static moved within it. Lena sat up and looked at her hands. A soft blue light glowed beneath her skin, faint but pulsing like a heartbeat. "I still feel it," she said. "The machine?" She shook her head. "Not the machine. You." He frowned. "Me?" She met his eyes. "We're connected now. When the system exploded, it merged everything, your mind, mine, and the remains of what your father built. Liam, I think we're part of it." He looked down at his own hands and froze. The veins along his wrist glowed, faint and bluish, just like hers. The realization hit like ice. The explosion hadn't just destroyed the facility. It had changed them, merged them with the very thing they tried to escape. They sat in silence for what felt like hours, watching as the gray light shifted into gold. Then, from somewhere far off, came the sound of engines. Lena turned sharply. "Do you hear that?" Black vehicles emerged through the mist, sleek and silent, their tires rolling over wet earth without a sound. The cars stopped a few meters away, and men in gray suits stepped out, holding scanners that flickered with bright blue readings. One of them, tall with silver hair, called out, "Liam Carter, Lena Harper, you are under retrieval order." Liam stood, shielding Lena instinctively. "Who are you?" The man stepped forward, showing a badge marked with a familiar logo, Carter Industries. "The company still lives," the man said. "Your father prepared for this outcome." At those words, something inside Liam cracked. "You work for him? He's dead." The man smiled faintly. His body, yes. His mind, no. Project Lyra achieved full transfer before the explosion. The network that merged into both of you, it's his consciousness. Lena's face went pale. "You mean he's inside us?" The scanner in the man's hand began to beep faster as he stepped closer. "Inside both of you. That was always the final stage. The perfect vessel, his son's body, and her mind." The ground trembled faintly, the fog rippling around them. Liam felt a sharp pain behind his eyes. Again, the same pulse from the facility, but stronger now. Voices whispered through his head, layered like memories that weren't his. Lena grabbed his arm. "Liam, he's trying to take control." He clenched his teeth. No, not again. The man raised his scanner. "Come quietly. If you resist, the system will complete the assimilation on its own." Lena's glow brightened suddenly, surging through her skin like fire. "Run," she whispered. Before Liam could answer, the air cracked with lightning. A surge of blue light erupted from the ground, knocking the agents backward. For a split second, he saw her standing there, eyes glowing, hair whipping in the wind, more energy than human now. Then the field dissolved in white again. When Liam opened his eyes this time, the world was gone. He was standing in a dark void. No sky, no ground, only the faint echo of a voice. His father's. Final phase initiated. Synchronization complete. And from behind him, Lena's trembling voice. Liam, don't go. The void stretched forever black, endless, alive. Liam felt no ground beneath him, no air in his lungs, only floating weightlessness and the echo of memories that weren't his. His father's voice guided him through the darkness like wind through the night. You were built to continue what I started, it whispered, to merge my mind and hers. Together, you are the new foundation. Liam clenched his fists. You used us, turned us into experiments. No, son, the voice replied. I saved humanity from its limits, from death. Light began to appear around him, small orbs drifting in space like memories made visible. Inside each one were scenes from his life, his childhood, his first company, Lena's smile, the night his phone rang at 2 a.m. Moments flickered, replayed, then shattered like glass. You can't erase what's real, Liam said. The voice laughed softly. Reality is programmable. A soft hand touched his shoulder. He turned. Lena stood there, faint light pulsing through her skin. Her eyes reflected sadness and something else, determination. He's merging into you, she said. You'll disappear if it finishes. He shook his head. Then we stop it together. She looked upward. We can't both stay. The system needs one mind to shut it down completely. If both of us remain, he'll survive through the link. For a moment, silence. Only their heartbeats filled the dark, pulsing in sync. He reached for her hand. I won't let you be the one. She smiled faintly. Liam, you came for me when everyone else was gone. Let me do this. No. But the void began shaking, cracking open into tunnels of light and sound. Through one crack, he saw the real world, the field where the blast had happened. Two bodies lay there motionless, surrounded by agents kneeling in confusion, scanners still beeping weakly. They were still alive, somewhere out there. Lena placed her palm against his chest. If I shut it down, you'll wake up. You'll live your own life, not a copied one. You'll be free. He grabbed her wrist. And you? She hesitated. I'll stay inside the network. Someone has to guard what your father built to make sure it can't return. Her hand glowed brighter. He shook his head desperately. Lena, please, don't go. Tears filled her eyes, trembling with the same ache as her voice the night she first called him. You already know the answer, Liam. You heard it that night. The light around them grew blinding. The last thing he saw was her smile, sad, calm, and final. Then, with a whisper like fading rain, goodbye. The world split open. Liam gasped awake. Morning sun hid his face. The field was quiet. The wreckage, the facility, the clones, everything was gone. Only dust and wind remained. He turned, half expecting her beside him, but there was only stillness. A phone buzzed suddenly in his jacket. His old number, somehow restored. Unknown caller. He answered it with shaking hands. Hello. A pause. Then her voice soft, distant, barely there. Liam, promise me something. His eyes filled with tears. Anything. Don't go back. The line went silent. He stood there for a long time, phone pressed to his chest, watching the fog roll over the hills. The sun rose behind him, the world quiet again. But far beneath the earth, under layers of stone and broken circuitry, a faint blue pulse began flickering in the dark, steady, rhythmic, alive. And somewhere in the static of the digital void, a girl's voice whispered once more, "Don't go." Years passed. The world moved on. Cars grew smarter, cities brighter. People's memories of the Carter name faded into old news. Nobody visited the field where the rain once washed away $1 billion secret. Liam Carter became a myth, a reclusive founder who donated his fortune and vanished. Some said he lost his mind after the accident. Others whispered, late at night, that he went searching for a ghost no one else could see. But at a university research lab across the country, a young engineer named Sienna worked the midnight shift, sorting through legacy satellite data. Out of boredom, she built a new algorithm and let it scan for anomalies, strange patterns, the kind her old professors called noise in the system. She sipped her tea, half asleep, when her screen blinked. A new signal, buried deep in an old government frequency, flashed on her monitor. She scrolled through the data. The numbers didn't make sense. Long strings that looked like code, then formed actual words. Lyra Network V4-1. Primary node. Online. Secondary administrator. Present. Sienna's hands shook as electric blue light flickered around the edges of her screen. Her cursor moved on its own, words appearing in the chat window. "Hello," she typed. "Who's this?" A pause. Then, "I need your help. Please don't go." Shivers crept up her arms. Miles beneath the earth, beneath concrete and dust, and the forgotten bones of a facility. A faint blue light pulsed once, then twice, then spread outward, threading into the world's hidden networks like roots of a waking tree. Somewhere, where code meets memory, a girl's voice waited patient, hopeful, and utterly alive. The world above was about to change again.